Hi, I'm in the middle of moving right now and my friend just sent me this Jack Conte South by Southwest video. And because I'm really stressed out, I decided to watch the entire thing instead of finishing packing. And I have some opinions about it. On the one hand, I really enjoyed what he had to say. On the other hand, I do feel like it was exactly what he said, a pitch for Patreon. But none of that's actually what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how Jack Conte sees content creation and how I see content creation. First off, I want to talk about the structure of Jack Conte's presentation. He spends like the first half of the video explaining the history of himself and how he founded Patreon, how he started Pomplamoose, his band, how he, engaged with fans and all that sort of stuff, how he basically became successful. The whole thing is like this slow build up from him going, oh, I played music in an empty bar to, oh, I had 40 fans at my first concert after starting Patreon or whatever. It's nice, it's cute, it's whatever, but it's also insidious. See, Jack Conte's employing his business model as he's speaking to you. His presentation takes a turn when he starts talking about this upside down triangle thing. Now at the top, we've got like the general audience of, people who could potentially watch your video and do. In the middle, we've got like followers, people who watched your stuff, liked it, and hit the follow button. And then below that, we have like your true believers, your people who drive most of your business. These are the people that actually spend the money on your stuff, buy your merch, yada yada. And this upside down triangle thing is like a true thing, right? This is like how social media works and how you make money off of social media. But where it gets weird is how he sees sort of the future of the internet and art and creation on the internet. See, like his presentation, he's drawing you into this idea, the idea of the true believer. If your art is the supply, they are the demand. And the point he really wants to drive home is that currently companies are at a race to the top to provide the most engaging entertainment possible to fund their business model. It's like algorithmically driven hypercapitalism. Cory Doctorow's idea of enshittification. And what Jack wants to move to is sort of like the other end of the pyramid. He wants to focus entirely on the true believer. He says, yeah, the top of the pyramid's great. The more people you reach, the more money you make. That's fine. But he wants to focus in on personal connections and, if you're an artist, engaging with other people on a core level. I had this thought, you had this thought, we both had this thought. And through the power of the internet, those two thoughts come together and make a connection just like a neuron or something in your brain. So when an artist is able to connect with a true believer, there's a bridge that's formed. So the artist makes art that influences the true believer, and the true believer's consumption and opinions about that art then influence the artist to make more art. And that's this symbiotic relationship, right? Between the artist and the people that consume their art. They can't exist without each other. So why am I really icked out by this? At the end of his presentation, Jack Conte kind of lays out his personal philosophy about art and why he makes art and why he does the things that he does. His focus on the true believer is his core belief. Now I'll just let him say it himself.
I can tell you what matters to me as a creative person, and what I know will matter to me 10 years ago, now, and 10 years from now. I want to say something that matters to somebody. I want to say something that only I can say because of whatever experience I've had in my lived experience, something that is uniquely pointed to me. I want to say that. I want to figure out how to say that. I want to find that core of human truth in my experience and communicate it eloquently and clearly and have it be true and feel true and have someone else see that and have that person think, yes, that feels true, and it feels true to them. And then I want that person to feel connected to me even though we've never met before in our lives. But I said a thing that resonated with them and made them feel a little bit less alone because they felt like there was another person who had that same experience.
But I make art for a very different reason. See, I look at the symbiotic relationship between artist and fan as sort of this dependency. Yes, one can't live without the other, but once you get too intertwined, then we get into parasocial relationships. You can go watch the Lindsay Ellis video about parasocial relationships if you want more information about that. But they're this naturally forming thing that occurs when people make connections with each other. How I relate to my coworkers on Slack, that's parasocial. So for me, when I make art, I'm not looking for this genuine connection with somebody else. I'm not looking to share a thought with somebody. I'm looking for power. As somebody who worked should come as no surprise that I don't make art to make a genuine human connection with somebody. I make art to enact social change. Yes, I want you to buy my book by creating a parasocial relationship with you, but I think it's important to keep that relationship walled off. I recognize that the bottom of the pyramid is a necessary balance to the top of the pyramid, and I'm actually aiming for that middle ground, the thing that he says is dying. So what, am I just here to tell Jack Conte that he's wrong, that his idea for the future of the internet is a bad one? No, I actually enjoy his idea, but I think it's it's rooted in the exact same idea that like Patreon in general is rooted in. All you need is 1,000 followers who will pay you $100 a month, and you make $100,000 a year. It's a fine business model, but what do we do about the ick? My friend basically made the point that sure, it feels icky, but at least it's not like relying on algorithms for stability. And you know what? I respect that. But also, I think we could do better. What do I think is the best case scenario for the future of the internet? What should we as artists hope for in distribution and whatever? Before influencers and the internet, we had just kind of like normal celebrities, right? It like started with royalty, and then it went to like movie stars and musicians and all that sort of stuff. And because of how technology worked back then, all of these people were like very walled off from their fans. It wasn't until like the 80s and 90s that we really got like tabloid magazines and grocery stores or whatever. So Patreon is rooted in the idea of like the patron system. A powerful individual with a lot of money or like a group of people will fund an artist to do art. Kind of like getting a grant. They have like some say over what you do, but for the most part, they're just like paying you to do what you already do. Because art and expression just make for a better society. Where was I? All right, Jack Conte. So where I want things to go rather than where I see things going, which is like probably actually what Jack Conte wants because he's like the head of Patreon and has a lot of power and influence to make this happen. But I would actually like to see a federal level grant so artists can be free to make art in the future however they want and not have to worry about like AI destroying their careers. By taking away the privatization of like payment for art and making it a general grant for the betterment of society, it kind of takes some of the power away from companies like Patreon who are beholden to the VCs that fund them or holding companies that buy them, and it gives more of a regulated income. This is sort of getting into the idea of a full employment economy, something that the White House actually just put out a nice 47-page document about. It's this idea that if we can get our society to a full 100% employment rate and do away with the outdated idea that we need like a 3% unemployment rate to combat inflation, what we're seeing with some of the things that the Biden administration is employing on a federal level, the closer you are to a 0% unemployment rate, the better the economy actually does. So how do we get there? Well, in a future video, I'm going to be talking about how money works and how none of this is actually all that hard, and all it really requires is a tax put on information, a data tax. But that's for a future video. So to close up, I want to talk about that triangle thing again, right? So up here we've got like Google, TikTok, yada yada, distribution platforms. And down here we've got like Jack Conte, the sort of true believer. I don't want to use the word cult, but that's kind of what it is. And I'm not really saying anything new, right? I mean, we had a term for influencers before the internet. It was called a cult of personality. There's a great song about it. Talks about people like Joseph Stalin or Kennedy or Gandhi, not necessarily artists, but people who garnered these large followings around them and then used that influence for change. My friend who sent me this video mentioned, you know, anytime you're exchanging art for money feels ick. That's just the inherently punk nature of art. It's this thing that has like inherent value and therefore is like highly sought after. Anyway, this video is kind of all over the place, and I really do want to close out here by talking about something that I actually agree with that Jack Conte said, so let's play the clip.
What's the thinking? What's the strategy and the idea behind this? Here's why. As a creator on the internet today, I can get subscribers and I can get views, and if I can send my fans to Instagram or TikTok and they can be there, but what I've noticed is those communities degrade over time. They don't get energized over time, they get de-energized. It gets harder and harder to reach those people. I make a post, I reach 2% of my audience, I reach 1% of my audience. I lose touch with those people, and there's no way for me to find those real fans, those true fans, the small portion of my fans that drive everything for me as a creator. The way we're building this and what I want as a creator is a place where I can send my fans and that fandom gets energy over time. That fandom gets closer. That fandom gets more vibrant, more connected over time, more enthusiastic over time. That's what I want as a creator. That's the space that I want to have.
Anyway, thanks for letting me ramble about Jack Conte while I pack. I gotta get back to packing now. As an aside here at the end, I really loved Jack Conte's sort of like description of why he does art, because as a really big like fan of cults, he was just describing cult tactics, right? The idea of getting a true believer on your side, somebody who's like totally devoted to you. That's cult stuff. I love it. Anyway, that's my thought.